Well, good afternoon. My name is Robert Sumwalt, and I'm a board member with the National Transportation Safety Board. And with us today, Captain Morgan Terrell. Captain Terrell is the investigator in charge for this accident. While our accident investigation activities are well underway, today will be our last on-scene press briefing. And after today, any future releases of information will be provided by the NTSB's Office of Public Affairs in Washington, D.C. During the press conference yesterday, at this time yesterday, we were just wrapping up the interviews of the vessel's engineer, and that press briefing, or that interview, lasted 1 hour and a half. After that, on into last night, we interviewed the deckhand, the two deckhands, and each of those also took about an hour and a half to complete. And what they were able to provide us with was a first-hand account of what they were doing at the time of the collision and what they experienced. Today, we began contacting injured passengers, and we started interviewing them. One of the things we did today was travel to the Seastreak offices in New Jersey, and we interviewed Seastreak's president, the director of operations, and the assistant director of operations. And we learned that safety issues are discussed at quarterly board of directors meetings at Seastreak. And the things that they look at and discuss are crew injuries, customer injuries, and safety programs and other safety issues. We also discussed with Seastreak's management the July 2012 modification of Wall Street, where the vessel was converted from a water jet system to a controllable pitch propeller propulsion system. And yesterday in the press conference, I said that the most experienced captain with Seastreak was the accident captain, and to that point, after the modification of the vessel, the accident captain was the one who conducted the sea trials, and he is also responsible for training other crew members on how to operate this newly modified vessel. On the first day, we said that there was no voyage data recorder on this vessel, nor is one required. But we also said that we oftentimes find information from unconventional sources. And to that point, today we had a breakthrough. We had a breakthrough on two different fronts. First, we were informed by the engine manufacturer that the engine control unit captures data that may shed light on why the engines shut down during the accident sequence. However, we were also informed by the engine manufacturer that if we continued to run the engines, if we operated them excessively, the data may be overwritten. And for that reason, we will not run the engines we will not test the engines until the engine manufacturer arrives, and he should be here by tomorrow. He's traveling from Michigan. Another data source, the vessel has six closed circuit TV cameras on it. Each have recordings 1 hour in length. And our investigators in our Washington, D.C. laboratory have been poring over those videotapes. There are two video cameras in each of the engine rooms. There are two engines. So each engine room had two cameras focused on the engines. There was also a video camera that was facing aft at the vessel's wake. And also there was a camera pointing at the passenger seating area at the time of the collision. Before the collision, some of the passengers had left their seats and had moved forward in preparation to disembark, while others remained seated. That was a question that came up on the very first press briefing, is what were the passengers doing? Were some standing, were some seated? We already now have video data, video evidence to show what some of those passengers were doing. And at the time of the accident, at the time of the collision, the video shows that the passengers were thrown forward. It also showed the efforts of the first responders. There is so little data that whatever is available, we need to capture. And because of that, the NTSB has set up an email address that we would like very much to hear from any sources, anybody that can provide us with witness accounts of the accident, video data. Those are the types of things that we need. So that email address is witness@ntsb.gov. Again, that's witness@ntsb.gov. It's amazing in these days of cell phone cameras who has video of things, and we count on the public to supply us with that information that may well help us with this accident investigation, and we appreciate their efforts in advance. Today, our engineering group began a damage survey of the vessel, including extensive photographs. We did a survey. The survey of the interior revealed 3 cracked windows. The damaged windows, one was at the bottom of a stairway, and the other 2 were on the windows facing aft, the doors going out to the aft deck. Also today, we've documented the external hull damage. We've also ridden on C Street vessels today to just get an idea of what their operations look like. Tomorrow our investigation continues, and we will be testing the steering systems as well as other systems. We will begin the engine testing once the engine manufacturer arrives and he can download those data that we're interested in. We will begin the documentation of the pier damage. Yesterday, the City of New York did a survey of that damage. We will get out and document it for ourselves, photo document it and measure it and look at it ourselves. Of course, the reason we want to do that is to check for the impact angles, both the length of the damage across the pier, and that will help us to determine the depth of the damage on the vessel. Sunday, we'll spend a day just sort of getting all of our field notes together, and Monday, our investigators plan to begin interviewing the Coast Guard officials who provided oversight over Sea Streak. I want to emphasize that even though this will be the last on-scene press briefing, this is just the very beginning of our investigation. While we've done a lot in the 2 days that we've been here, the 2 full days that we've been here, we're off to a great start, but this is just the very beginning of the investigation. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done, and it will be done. But again, just because I will go back to Washington doesn't mean that the NTSB is leaving. Our investigators will be here probably another 5 days. And then back in Washington, they will begin poring over everything that they've found here and continue to gather factual information and then start the analysis process. So I'll be glad to take your questions at this time. We've got a question right here.
Two things. Have you gotten any eyewitness video, and the video that you watched, did you see the passengers bracing themselves? Did it seem like they had any warning?
Have we already received any responses to the witness@ntsb.gov email address? And yes, we have. We've received 2, one from a passenger and one from a first responder. As far as were the passengers braced for the impact, we will be very carefully looking over all of that to see what we can learn from each of those, each of the people that were that we have on video, and also we will be interviewing folks as well. So we should be able to get a better idea of what was going on inside that vessel right before and during the accident sequence. There's a question here.
Hi, a couple of quick questions. When it was converted from a water jet system, it was converted to, I missed it.
Yes, originally it was a water jet system, and that's basically one like it sucks water in and then blows it out with jet force to propel the vessel. And then it took on it was modified with a controllable pitch propeller. The engine remained the same, but the actual propulsion system, how the vessel is pushed along through the water, that was changed. With the controllable pitch prop, just as it sounds, it moves to adjust the speed of the vessel forward and aft.
So the engine company telling you that now they may have data for you was not a result of the modification. The engine always had that data available?
The question is, did the engines always have that data available? To my knowledge, the engines were never modified, so it is possible that this data source always was there, but it's used for engine health monitoring and not for accident investigation. We're going to take a non-conventional source used for something else and see what we can learn from it for accident investigation purposes. There was a question here, and then I'll come over to here. Okay. Question was already answered, so.
Okay. Did the manufacturer indicate whether the control systems, the first thruster systems, whether those have been changed when the boat was remanufactured, and if they had any reports of other problems, the similar systems that they might have?
Did the engine manufacturer note that there were that the control system was changed, and were there other problems that have been reported on this vessel? Let me take the last question first. As I indicated yesterday, part of our investigation is to go through all of the maintenance records, to interview other crew members. There's one other captain who has operated this vessel. There are two captains that are currently qualified on this vessel. So we will be interviewing him to find out if he's had any problems with it. We will be going through the maintenance records. We will be looking at any write-ups that the crews may have had concerning the operation of this particular system. Now, back to the question of the engine. The engine remained the same. It was the prop or the propulsion system that actually changed. So we want to, and another thing that we did today was to actually go through and the documentation for the vessel, the documentation, we want to better understand, we want to fully understand the architecture of this propulsion system. So we've gathered those drawings, we're going through them very carefully so that we can better understand how this system was modified. There's a question here and then one here.
Did they say anything about whether the controls were changed from what the boat was manufactured?
Now, our contact, did the engine manufacturer tell us if the controls have been modified? And that is part of our investigation. The engine manufacturer primarily told us today that there's this data that may be available. Let us be the ones to download it because we have the special equipment. We did not get into the particulars with them, but we are considering adding the engine manufacturer as a party to our investigation. So back to this question, and then we'll go to this gentleman here.
How many injured passengers have you interviewed at this point?
We have interviewed a few injured passengers. We do not plan to interview all of the injured passengers, but we will contact, to the best that we can, each of the passengers who were injured, and if they're willing to talk to us, we will talk to them. So the question was, how many injured passengers have we spoken to? Yes, sir. Question right here.
If I heard you correctly, you said there's two cameras that look at the engines. If that's correct, have you guys been able to glean anything from those cameras?
There are. The question is, how many cameras look at the engines? There are a total of 4 cameras that look at the engines, 2 per engine.
Okay.
So were we able to glean anything from that? We took a good hard look at what those data showed, but we're just beginning our investigation. So we're going to use any and all available sources that we can to learn what happened in this accident.
One last question.
Question right here.
From an engineering standpoint, can you speak about the relative safety of water jets versus the ship-to-pitch propellers?
Can I speak to the safety of water jets versus controllable pitch propellers? we will be looking at that to see if there are any safety issues, and if we notice any safety issues with a particular control system, we will be able to make recommendations. Our biggest concern is the safety of the traveling public, and we want to make sure that any safety areas, any safe issues that we are concerned with, we will address. I want to thank you all for all of the cooperation that you've given. I want to emphasize this is only the very beginning of our investigation. It's a lot of work that's been done, but a lot of work needs to continue being done. But to tell you the truth, we're off to a great start. I want to thank everybody who's provided assistance. Thank you very much.